Hello guys and welcome to part 4 of my PGR2 Platinum walkthrough. We're starting the new series, which is the SUV series in Edinburgh with a hot lap, and we're using a Porsche Cayenne, not Panamera, as I stupidly proclaimed in the last part. So yeah, a hot lap, it's quite difficult. I needed definitely more than 10 tries. Tricky track, new location, Edinburgh. Yeah, well, very twisty. It's a little bit of jumpiness in the two, so you really need to pay attention here. We are already almost through. In this corner it's important to take a lot of speed, as much as you can. That was okay, not that speedy, but it's important because you have this long straightaway until the finish line, and we're through. Alright, the next challenge is the Lightning Machine Speed Trap Challenge / Speed Trap Challenge, again with the Cayenne, again in Edinburgh and in the rain this time. So in this challenge it's very important to use manual gearing because it's very tough. I actually believe it is the hardest speed trap challenge in the game. So what's important is that you take the corners just absolutely perfect, like as quick as you can, not too much sliding, being very exact, having, well, basically the exact same line I used. And if like, this is the shade, you can't see it, but I believe it was important to go into the third or fourth gear before the last corner you just saw here, so that you would have enough speed. And I barely made it, like barely achieved the speed that was needed. Okay, alright, so the next challenge is a street race, and I'm just checking which speed was needed in the speed trap challenge. Just let me take a look. Alright, 185 kilometers per hour, and I barely made it. Okay, so next race, again, it's in Edinburgh. It's a street race. Oh yeah, my dark red Cayenne Brava did a mistake, and now we're hunting down the white one through the narrow streets of Edinburgh. Not too difficult though, this race. Admittedly, it was one of the easier races. The opponents tend to do quite a bit of mistakes during the race, especially in the corner you just saw where the other red Cayenne did a mistake. They like to do that, so if you don't repeat their mistake, it's easy to pass them. Alright, what a nice head-to-head on the straightaway, and we're through. There we go. He did that well, but I believe he will crash now in a second in the next corner. This is the corner they always crash out. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, this part is really tricky. The car gets quite jumpy, you know. You need to counter steer a lot. This section I always liked. And now the tough corner. This is the exact spot we just saw in the speed trap, except it went to the left one corner before this one. The S-curves here, you drive for them, I mean, almost in every single Edinburgh challenge, weirdly enough. One spot that you drive very often, and this straight is used also quite often. I once saw a video where someone was comparing this track with this long straightaway you just saw with Forza Horizon 4, which is set in the UK or in Great Britain too, and there is like this pseudo replica of Edinburgh, and weirdly enough this guy was able to recreate this track or a similar track from this game in Forza Horizon 4, and they were very similar, and at parts they were identical. I found it to be pretty cool. Also a place, by the way, I would like to visit one day. This is definitely on my wish list. And we're through, and got us some 1,265 kudos. Nice. Alright, enjoy the replay. So, the next race is set in Edinburgh, yet again, quite overused, this location in the SUV series. It seems, obviously, we would be using the Cayenne again, and because it's a head-to-head in the game, obviously will give you the class-leading car in a head-to-head challenge to fight against, to drive against. We are obviously fighting and driving against another Cayenne, as the Cayenne is very much the class-leading car here, just as the Porsche Boxer S in the second series was in the Sports Convertible series. All in all, you could say that in this series and the SUV one, in the fourth series, the German automakers are dominating quite a lot with here, obviously the Cayenne, and also with the BMW X4 or 5, I don't know what it was called, and the Mercedes-Benz AMG something. The models from 2002, 2003 and 2004 time frame, somewhere around that time, because the game released there. I believe it must have been 2004, at the earliest 2003, but I'm pretty sure it was 2004. Basically around the year before the Xbox was dropped for the 360, which released 2005. So yeah, the Porsche, as many Americans say, which I really don't like. Like, let's make something clear. This automaker is called Porsche. This is the only way to say it. Like if you want to say it like a true German, you would say Porsche. Very easy. Some say Porsche. They pronounce the R rather hard, like a Latino or like a Eastern European. Some would say Porsche. This there you could say, or it pronounce the R like a typical French. Basically, you're getting some education here. The R mostly by most Germans is pronounced like it is in French. Like the French word would be travailler, and a Russian would say travailler, or a Latino. So yeah, but in this case, in German, you don't really pronounce, when you say it in a very clean German, you don't pronounce the R, it's just Porsche. And as I just had noticed that English-speaking people would either say Porsche, which is just wrong because the E at the end is missing, or what many Americans, I believe, like to say is Porsche. And this is like, it just sounds so very wrong. It's definitely not Porsche. Porsche is better than Porsche, but it's also, yeah, it's not perfect. Just say Porsche. It's not very difficult. And enough with the language ramblings of an angry German. Just enjoy the replay. Okay, so the next challenge is the beloved and hated and feared at the same time cone challenge. And this time, and finally in a new location, not completely new, but for the series, in Florence. This time it's 2 laps again, as all slalom cone challenges are from the 2nd or 3rd championship series, because they started with 1 lap and they heightened it to 2 laps, and this is what it stays for the rest of the game, the 2-lap challenge. Okay, very obviously again using the Cayenne as it's the fastest car, and drifts rather well, accelerates greatly, brakes well, handles great. This drift was rather needed in that lap, otherwise your combo would break. Here, possibly too. You're never like wrong in sliding and drifting at these challenges as long as you do not lose too much speed, because the slide and drift will prolong your combo and give you more points, and thus heighten the chance of well, achieving a target. By the way, the target for this challenge is 13,000 kudos. So this is a very fast, tricky section. Not that tricky, but rather fast, rather quick. Now here, hard braking, a little drift as to not to break the combo, and full throttle. Pedal to the metal the entire section here. Nice scenery. Nice. And this corner coming up right here, the left-hander here, at the cathedral, this is very tricky. Did you see that? I had to brake a little bit more, not to hit the cone. If you brake too much, you're definitely breaking the combo because you're too slow. If you brake too little, you're going into the wall or in the cone. So, yeah, very technical turn if you want so. on to the next challenge in Florence with the Cayenne. This time it's a overtake challenge again. The first in this series, I believe. Yeah, it is. One car down, the Mazda MX5, the slowest car of the game. The second car is the BMW Beetle, which I have driven for the first time in GT3, back then on the PS2. It looked kind of fast, but quite honestly, it's still very slow. It looks faster than it is. Okay, 2 cars down. I don't know how many cars you had to overtake here. I'll just check. So that's the third car, I want to see that. I still don't recognize it. Oh, the Mazda RX-8. RX-8. Yeah. The other ones are in close proximity, it seems. We're now taking the Integra. Oh, that was a little dirty. Seven cars supposed to go, so the one in front should be the last one. Z4. That was a good turn. Lancia HF Integrale in front of us, taking the Italian legend, overtaking the Italian legend in its home. And the Audi TT, so that would definitely be the last car I overtook in that challenge. Probably had quite a bit of time left. Oh yeah, I remember. This one was rather easy. And we gained ourselves over 1,000 kudos. Nice. And that's it. Have a lovely weekend. Alright, so the next challenge is through the streets of Moscow, and the track is called Kreml 1. Okay, so here we're racing against the Chevrolet, the Ford SVT 150, I believe this is the BMW I mentioned. Again, the Chevrolet and the Ford, and at the front, the two fastest cars of this class, the Mercedes AMG and certainly my Porsche. Yeah, this is it. Ooh, bad cornering there. Not very easy to get right. Here's a quick turn. It's a street race, obviously. In general, most of the tracks from Moscow are high-speed tracks, and their layout is prone to that. Oh, much better this time around. I myself do have, by the way, some personal connection to Russia, because my native language is actually Russian, not German. We moved to Germany when I was a little kid, 8 years old. So yeah, I still do speak Russian. I can read it okay. It's like I'm very slow, but I can read it. Writing though is not really. I forgot how to do, how to write. I only ended 2 classes in school there, so all of that is pretty much forgotten. My Russian itself is okay, I could hold rather easily an everyday conversation, but when it comes to science or the news or anything of that sort, then I just don't have the vocabulary for it, because I never had it, having only finished 2 school classes, back then. I would rank my Russian as my... that was dirty from me again yet. I would rank my Russian as okay behind my English. So yeah, my Russian is worse than my English. So it's not that great, I understand. And well, my German is obviously perfect. I'm living here for over 20 years. So yeah, that's that. Enjoy the replay. right, next race is set in Moscow again. The track this time is called Roter Platz 1, in English Red Square. Well, it's not an exact translation because Red Square would be something else in German. But anyway, I know that in English it's called the Red Square. And there you have these infamous buildings on the left side at the Red Square. And there the river, which I don't know the name of, I knew but I forgot, and the beautiful churches. Because I really suck hard at geography. Never been my strength, honestly. Which I'm almost ashamed of. Like, I know so many famous or well-known rivers, I don't know them, or even like capitals of countries and stuff. I don't know. Never was my strong point, so to say. Anyway, back to my Russian connection, as Russian is my native language. It's weird when I watch German TV and there is a documentary about Russia. I almost always get this warm feeling in my heart and just watch the entire thing, even if it's like 2 hours long. Maybe I do possess some part of this infamous Russian soul, because I have been born not in Russia though. This is the weird part too, because I myself have never ever been to Russia itself, although my native language is Russian. So any of you who has a little bit of education will know how that can come, because back then the Soviet Union was quite huge. They acquired, if you want so, a lot of countries around themselves, and Kazakhstan was one of that countries where I have been born and partially raised. Yes, in the home country of Borat. And yes, I did watch both movies, and no, life in Kazakhstan is, as you would say in English, is not as portrayed in the movies. Who would have thought, But still, I found them very funny. Russians do like to laugh about themselves. This is like part of Russian humor basically to laugh about your own culture in a criticizing way, so to say, because Russians are very aware of their faults concerning, everything, the state, the politics, the culture itself, the mentality, the Russian mentality, etc., etc. So I think that's pretty cool. Anyone who can laugh about himself and doesn't take himself too seriously is good in my book. New track layout here. This straight is very long, used also rather often in the game, also in the challenges to follow. One of my favorite parts in the game. This straight alone, because I did have some pretty cool fights with my opponents. All of those streets are certainly very, very famous, or any Russian who has ever visited Moscow or who is living in Moscow would know that, but I have no clue. I just know the Red Square and the river beside it. That was it. Oh, and by the way, I didn't even talk about the radio stations in the game. So the game has this cool feature that depending on the country you are driving in, it would play the music of this country most of the time. There are also English songs in Germany which will follow, in Russia too when you drive in Russia, but they have a few songs in the native language of the particular country, and so That to me was such a cool surprise, because yeah, I do speak Russian, I do understand it, and driving through Moscow at the Red Square, you know, in this game, and listening to some actually nice licensed Russian music from back then, and from the 90s even they used songs, I believe, was, I don't know, it was such a cool, fun experience. I enjoyed it a lot, and it showed me again a little bit of new music I didn't know yet. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Anyway, enjoy the replay.